Welcome to a new year at Denham Oaks Elementary. Our theme will remain the same with a little bit of things added on. Together we achieve greatness is still what we're working on, and we're adding in soaring to new heights. This idea came from the book Who Moved My Standards? And in the very beginning of this story, the author includes a parable about the challenges of change. So this video is used or designed for you to use it as you would like. You can listen to it, you can read it from the book, you can put it on your phone and walk and get exercise while you listen to the story. I did include the pictures, but you don't have to see them to understand the ideas behind the story. So sit back and listen to A Soaring Tale. The sun rose bright and hot over the forest. In a pine tree lived a family of flying squirrels and a family of blue jays. The little ones played together and were the best of friends. Every spring, a new group of little flying squirrels and blue jays entered flying school. They learned to fly from the safety of their pine tree, over a dangerous stream, to land in a nut tree that was very close by. The nut tree was full of delicious and nutritious food for the long winter. Each successive class had glided or flown to reach the nearby nut tree. The flight instructors taught their little ones the same way they had been taught by their own mothers and fathers, and their grandmothers and grandfathers, generation after generation. It was a good enough way. This is how they did it. The flight teachers organized the little ones into rows. They taught them the basics of jumping. They taught them to flap. They taught them to glide. Then the students practiced, jumping from branch to branch in the pine tree, each branch a bit farther away. The little ones glided or flapped wildly with their still forming wings. They each reached their branch separately. Some of the smaller or weaker ones barely made it. As long as they made it somehow, that was enough. But then one night, the wind began to blow. The thunder crashed. It was the worst storm they had ever seen. Lightning struck the nut tree in the meadow, and with a terrible crack and groan, it toppled to the ground. When the animals woke and surveyed their world, they saw their familiar nut tree was gone. And worse, the next nut tree was much, much farther away. It was across treacherous terrain where foxes and weasels roamed night and day. What to do? What to do? We have never taught our little ones to fly so far, said the squirrel to the blue jay. Never so far on their own, agreed the blue jay. Not in any generation. At first, the flying school instructors tried teaching harder and harder. They gave the kids extra tasks. Jump more, jump higher. The little ones leaped and flapped until they were exhausted. They could hardly chirp or chatter at the end of the day. School was no fun. And while there was some improvement, all the little ones were still not skilled enough to get to that faraway nut tree. Sometimes this feels impossible, the blue jay said nervously. Agreed, said the squirrel. Teaching flight was hard enough in the old days. I'm exhausted, and so are the kids, said the blue jay. Me too, said the squirrel. But we can't let our kids down. We just need to find a better way. But they could already feel the sharp nip of winter in the air. The flight instructors saw that it was a new world. Even the little ones could see it. Everything had changed. They couldn't just give up, could they? We must prepare. We must prepare. I wish our world had not changed, the little ones chirped and chattered. If only, the blue jay thought. The flight instructors saw that flapping and jumping harder would be no help. Their old way of practicing would never get all the students to the distant nut tree in time, no matter how hard they tried. So the teachers met to come up with a new plan. To get to that distant nut tree, the little ones would need to build new skills, they decided. They would need to go far beyond just flapping and gliding practice. They skillfully laid out the tasks at hand. The little ones would need to know geography and the physics of flight. They would have to know how to judge wind velocity and direction. And most important, they would have to learn the sequence for their flight path. We can recall vocabulary: thrust, drug, lift, weight, Newton's first law. We can analyze the principles of flight and explain how they work together or in combination in various weather conditions. We can work as a team to apply the principles of flight to practice and adjust our practice as necessary to soar farther until we reach the new nut tree. The students would have to learn to work as a team to fly farther than any class had before. All the students must soar together. Not one could fail or fall. How will we ever teach the little ones so much so fast? The squirrel and the blue jay asked each other. The flight instructors met as a teacher team and talked and talked. At last they came to an agreement. To learn so many new skills before winter, the little ones would simply have to work together. None of us is as smart as all of us, said the squirrel. Sticks in a bundle are unbreakable, said the blue jay. Yes, the little ones would need to work as a team to figure out how to get to that distant nut tree. Not even one child could be allowed to fail or fall into the jaws of the predators prowling below. At first, the little ones worried and complained. They were used to the flight instructors always telling them what to learn and how to learn. How could they succeed at this impossible task? It's a new world, the blue jay told his chicks. You must be quick and agile. You must be perceptive and thoughtful. In our new world, there will always be problems to solve. You must be able to do this for yourselves, said the squirrel to her little ones. She anxiously hoped they were up to the task. We can help you learn the skills you need, but we can't possibly be there to help you fly forever. The little ones tried this way and that way. They practiced circling once around their home pine tree, using all the principles of flight, but never straying too far. When they had mastered some skills, the flight instructors encouraged them to push a little farther. They circled their pine tree twice, and then 3 times, and so on and so forth. This was fun. The little ones were thinking and practicing on their own. The stronger, faster kids helped the smaller, weaker ones, encouraging them and offering tips from what they had discovered. Each student had a role to play, although those roles changed. Even when they made mistakes and learned from them, it was exciting. The teachers saw that the students were helping each other. The squirrel and the blue jay exchanged a look of secret pride. I guess we can step back and let them do it on their own, the squirrel whispered. Just let them soar a little farther each time, the blue jay agreed. But the little ones still hadn't figured out how to fly far enough to reach the nearest pine tree. Their flight instructors watched, a little anxiously, and waited. If the instructors had to swoop in when the kids veered too far off course, they made sure to ask questions to help the little ones figure out how to improve. The learning must belong to the little ones, they said to each other. Nobody would fail, nobody would fall. But still, the cold wind of coming winter ruffled their feathers and nipped at their paws. Then one day, the littlest squirrel said, I wish I had wings and could fly. Eureka! The little ones tried something they had never tried before. They paired up. The flying squirrels glided as far as they could, with the little blue jays holding tight and flapping on their backs to keep them aloft. Round and round the pine tree until they were quite sure they were ready. And then on to the nearest pine tree, and on to the next one. Their instructors encouraged them all, even the littlest and timid ones. They asked good questions. They supported them to stretch. They let the students take more and more responsibility, and they celebrated everyone's accomplishments. Until at last, the little ones reached the distant nut tree. And what do you think they saw when they got there? They sat in the highest branches and looked out at a whole new forest of nut trees that they had never seen before. They saw that they could certainly reach all those trees if they worked together. Our new world has no limits, they said to each other. And through the long winter, as they soared from tree to tree together, not a single child was lost, not even one. They all soared together. The end. Now, as you reflect on this parable, be thinking, what made it so applicable to where we are now at Denham Oaks Elementary School? How can we take this lesson from the squirrels and the blue jays and make it our own? I hope you enjoyed this tale, and I hope you check out the book, if you haven't already, Who Moved My Standards?